This is Kathy trying to show, or will demonstrate today, something called backwards knitting. Now, that is a very useful technique if you're doing interlock, or maybe you're knitting something that's very large, like a blanket, where you've got an awful lot of purl stitches, and you don't want to keep constantly turning your work. So what I've started here, and this backwards knitting is also known as mirror knitting. So if you hear both terms, you will understand that they're sometimes interchangeable. So just be aware that that is something you can look up if you need to know. What I've done here is I've started out my swatch, and you can see this is all stockinette. And I'm going to finish this row so I can get to the end of the row. And normally when you want to go back and do purl stitches, what you end up doing is you've got your yarn in your completed yarn piece in your right needle and your empty needle in the left, and then you have to turn everything around. So the work that you're going to proceed on is in your left hand, and your right needle is free to do the work. Well, we're not going to do that today. We're going to do backward knitting or mirror knitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the back of my loop, and I'll turn so you can see. I'm going to go into the back of this loop, and I'm going to pull it off into the right needle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a loop counterclockwise. And that's important, counterclockwise, just like that. And then I'm going to feed the stitch that I was working on onto the left-hand needle. So that is my first mirror knit stitch, backward knitting stitch. I'll do it again. Pick up the back of the loop that's on your right needle. You're going to take the yarn that you're working and turn it counterclockwise on the needle that's in the back. I got hand cream on. And so then what you're going to do then is you just simply slide that off the needle, and then you proceed to the next stitch. And we'll go ahead and do this a few times so you're very familiar with the technique. And you do it counterclockwise because that leaves you with a purl stitch. And when we're done with the sample, I'll turn my work around and you can see what I've done. The first time I did this, my purl stitches were loose, and so I felt like I really needed to do more exercise, and that's really what happens. You can tighten up that stitch when you pull it, but the more you do it, the better you get. Pull that stitch up over the yarn you've just put on counterclockwise. Do it again. And we'll do it again. And this should work on any weight yarn. This, for instance, is worsted, which is what I wanted to use for the sample so you could see it. But I think you could probably do this on every type of yarn that's out there. Just a little bit of practice with the technique and you're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right now and show you what I've got. So these are the stitches I did backward knitting on. You can see they look just like a regular stockinette stitch. Of course, this one's loose because I'm just hanging it there. I'm going to turn it now so you see what you've got now is you've got purl stitches. So it's worked out perfectly. And like I said, I encourage you to use this if you really want it. If you're working on something you have to turn and turn and turn, and it's twisting on your lap, give this a try. This is well worth it to find out. So again, backwards or mirror knitting, and wrap that stitch counterclockwise on your needle when you're working. That's it. Happy knitting.